Hello, Two Heads Up here. Welcome to another PVM or Money Making with PVM guide. And this time it's Nightmare Zone. So I've done lots and lots of Nightmare Zone endurance mode trips, and I've pretty much summed it down to what inventory is best to bring in terms of cost effectiveness and how far you get. And this is the only inventory where I just bring one prayer potion where I actually finish. So this means I complete the whole thing. I've done all the quests. I complete the whole thing with no mage entangles or anything like that. So it's very cost effective because I'm like, of my own supplies, I'm only using one prayer potion, which is fantastic. So let's go through the setup. So I've got full Verax, and I've got full Verax because on lots of the bosses, specifically the Desert Treasure bosses, and a few of the recipe for disaster bosses, Jungle Demon, you'll see when I get to them. They have very high defense. So in order to go through that, you can either mage them in the Desert Treasure bosses cases. Can't do that with Jungle Demon. Or you can use a very accurate setup. So with full Verax, with that defensive, cutting through all defense and prayers special ability proc. I've got full carols for the magic defense and for the range on a few bosses. And I've also got an Aram skirt just for simply maging two of the bosses. Well, maging three of the bosses. Chronozoan, Dagnith Mother, and Gelatinith Mother. That's really the only bosses you need to mage. Other than that, that's the setup. I can do this with 3 overloads. Depending on your combat level, you may need to bring more or less. I'm 108 combat. You need ice gloves for Fairies, for Fairied and Flambeed. And I think that's it. Oh, DDS for specs. Okay, so I think I've got my dream already ready. Yep. Alright, so let's get started. So in the beginning, just load up on your absorption pots. You can drink all the way up to 1,000. And hopefully I can finish this in around an hour. Because that means, for me, if I finish this in an hour, that is 590k points in 1 hour, which translates into 700k. Just about. Drink your overload, don't forget that. And you can just use Protect Melee. Because Elvarg, I believe, does drain your prayer, so you might as well just get rid of it beforehand. And if Elvarg doesn't drain it, Glod will drain it if you have done that quest. But very few people have actually done Grim Tales, so Glod is one of the tougher bosses. King Roland. And basically, just fill up your inventory with the runes. And once you kill Alvard, you can discard the Dragonfire Shield and then pick up more runes. Together, you'll pretty much need everything on the ground except for Chaos runes. You'll even need the Death runes for Chronozoan, but you'll see that in a bit. So, I guess while I'm killing these little bosses, we can talk about the Nightmare Zone update where they, I guess, nerfed the Dream Mentor boss where it doesn't give so much points when you kill it. Like, one of the bosses would give 50k points when you killed it. And they updated it so that it gives you less, or something along the lines of those points were distributed through more bosses. So, I'm not sure which ones, or all of them, or whatever. I don't know how the points were distributed. But as far as I can tell in endurance mode, I got the exact same amount of points before and after the update, around 590k points. 590k and an X amount. So I don't notice the difference. So if you're doing endurance mode for your points, it hasn't been nerfed really. So you got nothing to worry about. So you're asking a few other concerns. I brought a Brassy, yeah, and I didn't bring like a Darox top or anything. And the truth is, you don't really need it. If you bring like a Darox top or a Torag's top, you sacrifice an absorption potion, which is 200 points of healing damage. And the Brassy also gives you an extra 5 prayer bonus and allows you to not have to bring like an Aram's top. So it ultimately just bringing the Brassy saves you a lot of inventory space, which is pretty much the name of the game here in Nightmare Zone. How little you can initially bring in your inventory, and just fill up the rest with absorption pots and whatever other pots you need. So if this is just one of your first times, yeah, I wish you could, but this is soloing. That's my good friend, Miss Wood. But, what was I saying? If this is one of your first times of doing Nightmare Zone, I would suggest bringing a Restore Potion, or a Super Restore, actually. So instead of bringing this Prayer Potion, bring a Super Restore, because a few of the bosses, like Elvarg, and Camille, and that, like, Chocolate Lady, Desert Treasure, Chocolate Lady, whatever, they lower your stats. So if your overload expires, and then you get onto a boss like Camille, your stats will be lowered dramatically, and when you drink your overload, it won't bring you back up to full stats. So here's Elvarg. Make sure you put on your anti-dragon shield, and you just basically want to spec him out as fast as you can, because he does drain your prayer. Yeah, there goes. He drains it by like 3 points each attack. So if you can spec him out quickly. And if you do use Magic Prayer, it will tank some of his attack. But he just hits constantly over and over again, so there's not really much you can do. Just have to kill him as fast as you can. And like I said, this is why you waste your prayer in the beginning, so that Elvarg just doesn't drain it all. He's dead, so you can get rid of the anti-dragon shield and you can pick up something else. I think the next thing I'll need is a pickaxe. So here's a Moss Giant. The Moss Giant uses both melee and magic, but I just switched to full Carols because I think he just mainly uses magic. But he seems to hit pretty much all the time, no matter what I put on. So don't forget to drink your overloads. A message will appear here. Yeah, he pretty much just always fucking hits. So you can tell if it's, I guess, a melee or magic attack by if he hits that splash on you. See if it splashes on you, that's a magic attack. And yeah, I'm wearing full Carols, and it's hitting anyways, so this is just one of those bosses that's going to do a lot of damage to you that you're just going to have to eat. I haven't figured out a good way around the Moss Giant. So if any of you guys do, I mean, yeah, just over and over and over again. If any of you guys do, let me know. So I can drink another full absorption pot. Slagath, alright, this is a monster that you have to use a pickaxe on. You don't have to, but if you don't use a pickaxe, you'll max like 4 damage with a whip. So it's better to just use the pickaxe. I guess I can talk about some updates and shit. While I'm doing this, so I guess let's look at my stats. I'm at 79 herb lore, very close to 80. And when I'm at 80, I can actually make brews. I can drink Green Man's Ale and make a few brews. And that's what I plan on doing. Get some experience from the ingredients I already have. And then just buy some more herbs to get 81. Combat stats have been pretty stale. I haven't been training combat. I've just been trying to make money, training herb lore, and I think that's pretty much it. Oh, I've been doing more farming. I've been more meticulous. About my farming runs. I've been trying to do a few a day instead of just one a day. Alright, so I can discard this pickaxe and I can I'll just pick up these sectors. I missed the boss. What's the boss after Slaggeth? Oh, this boss. This is a good boss to poison, because the poison lasts through all 3 stages of this boss. And so what are my goals after 81 Herblore? So after 81 Herblore, I plan on knocking out Full Void. Hopefully within the next 2 days, I'll have Full Void. I've got the gloves, and I've got enough points to buy the helm, but I'm going to buy the torso. So I'm very close to the torso. And then I'll just have the helm and the bottoms left to buy. And that'll probably take me around 7 hours. The boats I get on, like at Pest Control, just suck. And I always get put in the second line, like when a boat leaves, like, you know, the message pops up saying you've been given first priority. That literally happens to me every other boat. So that's really what discourages me, one of the things that discourages me from doing Pest Control. But I've got 96 range. There's no excuse why, like, for me not to have Full Void. I could so be using that Full Void and doing a bunch of PVM, killing metal dragons. Oh my god. So I'm going to knock that out after I get 81 Herblore. And then what are my goals after that? Just stocking up on supplies and training combat, and that's pretty much it. Okay, so this boss is pretty annoying because you can only attack it a few times, you'll see, before it decides to float away. And there it goes, floating away. It's not a good boss at DDS spec either, because the poison damage will actually cause it to float away. So I'd save your spec for the next boss. God, loudest cars here in this town are bikes or whatever, trucks, anyway. But yeah, this is just such great money. I'm trying to speed up my trips, because if I can finish this whole thing in an hour, that's literally that 700k an hour. Whatever 500, well actually no, we'll say it's 600k, because I spend about 100k in points on supplies per trip, maybe a little less, maybe like 80k. So that leaves me with around 500k points to spend on Pure Essence, which gets me, so I sell the Pure Essence 80 to 88 each. So that'll get me around 600 to, I don't know, 630k, something like that. You can do the math, I'm not going to do it right now. So it's very good money, so that means it's like 600k an hour. Conservatively, if you can do this whole thing in an hour, that's 600k an hour, boom, like that, and that is fantastic cash. And it's not, it's not bad experience. You're not constantly killing something, but you get to be constantly potted up with an overload. So you're getting a little bit of experience while doing this. So I definitely think it's a great game, like enjoyment-wise and money-making-wise. We can also talk about the other Nightmare Zone updates. So it looks like a lot of additions are being put into Nightmare Zone. Imbued crystal shields and bows. Looks like the combat rings are going to pass. And it even looks like the... Oh, I need to pick up Earth Runes. Hey. It even looks like the... What's it called? Oh, right. The gem rings are going to pass. Misclicked. Gem rings like, an onyx, imbued onyx ring. It looks like that's at 74%. And I think Jagex may even pass it, even if it is at 74%. Which I'm kind of disappointed I voted to pass those, because it would have been nice just to have the Dagonoth King rings, the combat rings, the only rings that you could imbue, because an imbued Onyx ring or even an imbued Dragonstone ring is a little overpowered in comparison to, let's say, an Archer's ring or an imbued Archer's ring or imbued Seer's ring. So you can see, like, I don't even have a staff on, I just put on a skirt and the mage works perfectly fine. So there's no need to bring full mage here, it's just a waste of inventory space. I mean, I splash there, but I think it's worth the extra absorption pots to just guarantee that you don't splash, opposed to that. It's a little silly. So the thing about this setup is it has a very low range defense. That's the downside. I've tried using it with a Dragon Square Shield, but I just don't hit with the whip and the defender, unfortunately. So, Agrith Nar, this is another boss which you switch to the full Carols in. It uses mage and melee, but so it just hit me there for melee. But it does seem to use mage a lot more often, and wearing the full Carols, you still got somewhat high melee defense. But it's up to you. I just think the full Carols will save you a lot of damage points, absorption points. And yeah, I'm using, if you want to control trained here, I mean, most of these bosses have very low defense. So if you want to control train here, by all means, go ahead. It's definitely, when I'm using whip, I definitely prefer to use slash. Glod is probably coming up. Let's see if I can save my specs for him. You'll probably have to drink 1 or 2 absorption pots on Glod. 1 or 2 absorption pots worth, because he is a beast. If you've done that quest, Grimtails, he was a hard quest. Yeah, he was a hard quest boss when I did that quest around 80 combat. Oh my god. I tried to use prayer. I don't know how I beat him. Only trying one time, because I tried using prayer and he just kept on draining your prayer and hitting you constantly and hitting you hard and doing things like taunting you and moving you all over the place. But most of these bosses are pretty easy. So, as you can see, I'm at 103k points, 104k points almost. And I don't know how long I've been here because I'm streaming, opposed to just using QuickTime. But, I don't know, maybe I've been here 20 minutes, and I've already got 100k points, which is fantastic. So 100k in 20 minutes. Well, 100k points anyway in 20 minutes is really good. Alright, there we go. So what's the next boss? Tanglefoot. Alright, so for Tanglefoot, of course, you need the secateurs, whatever they're called. And I was told that the higher farming level you have, the more damage you do. So if you have to overload at this boss, if your overload runs out at this boss, you can save some overload by just drinking it after you kill Tanglefoot, opposed to drinking it if it runs out while you're killing Tanglefoot. It'll save you some overload doses. And you'll learn that it's important to conserve your overloads when you're trying to bring as many absorption pots as possible. Alright, and there we go. And drink another full absorption and get rid of these secateurs. I'm going to pick up some Khazard Warlord. And a tip for people maging here, once you go below, you can only pick up a maximum of 300 runes, but the instant you go below 300 runes, you can pick up more. and get as close to 400 runes as possible. But you can only pick up more if you have less than 300 runes in your inventory. So when you're maging here in Rumble, for example, and you want to try and have as many, like pick up as many runes as possible, you can just pick up 300 runes, cast one spell, and then pick up 100 more. And then you'll pretty much have 400 of each rune. It's a good tip. It's something I did when I was going for 94 magic. So, yeah, 94 magic is, if you haven't seen my other videos, my PKing videos, I just got it a few days ago. And part of the way I trained was using Barrage here, which is a very cheap way of training because super magic potions here give you as much magic bonus as Overload, but they're only 250 points per dose, opposed to over 1k a dose. Arg, this boss wrecks shit. I think I'm getting close to Glod, so I'll just use one spec on him. Maybe two. Get a poison on. Okay. I remember doing this boss at like level 50 combat. And oh my god, this is actually the only quest boss I actually died to. I had full initiate armor. Like, this was the first week or two the game was out, and no one had any money. And initiate armor was like my best armor. So I was fighting the boss, and I killed it. And then I see a rock coming at me, and it hits me like a 26, and I die. You know, I was out of food and everything, of course, so that's why I was that low health. But fortunately, I didn't have to kill him again. It registered that I killed a boss. This was for Troll Romance, the Troll Romance quest, in case if you're wondering. And I forget what reward you get from that quest. Yeah, I completely forgot. Maybe some Herblore experience. But yeah, that was the only quest boss I actually died to, believe it or not. And it's the only quest boss, well, actually, I technically only made one attempt at it. So, I never made a second attempt at any quest boss. So, yeah. Looking at a quest master right here. Here's a 246 quest points in case if y'all needed proof. So, we can talk about, I guess, if you have a quest cape and you want to do this to trim your quest cape. It looks like, I mean, it's at 74, 73% for voting for the trim the quest cape. So, it's maybe one of those things that Jagex will pass anyway, like, if it's close enough to 75%, and it's not like a drastic update that's gonna ruin and change the game and cause people to quit. Potentially cause people to quit. I think it's just one of those things that they'll do anyway. How to do that, if they do release that, is just you just wear a quest cape instead of whatever other cape you use here, and you complete it on regular or hard mode, and you get it trimmed either blue or red, and you get increased stats. But that's all on the development blog, and that's in the poll as well. So if you want to check that out, that's also good. So we can also talk about secondary ingredients that they planned on releasing. And I'm hoping what Jagex is going to do is, when they made Nightmare Zone and everything introducing the game, they didn't poll on okay, what secondary Herblore ingredients should we put in Nightmare Zone? You know, what miscellaneous rewards should we have in Nightmare Zone? Jagex didn't poll on that, they just did it. So I'm hoping that in the case of these secondary ingredients that they're voting on, I'm hoping that they're just going to put in the secondary ingredients that got a close vote. And most specifically, I'm talking about Wines of Zamrock, since those are so heavily bought it's sad. But it looks like vials are going to pass, of course, like I said in the previous video, which is a good thing. It'll finally get rid of those Ardougne bot vials, you would think. If enough people do Nightmare Zone, of course, it all depends on that. then yeah, botters are going to have a tough time making as much money, or even selling their vials when players are just getting their own from Nightmare Zone, or selling their own from Nightmare Zone. So yeah, I just hope that they, what secondary herb lore ingredients you introduce into Nightmare Zone, that's not really something you ask the players about. Um, that's a kind of a trivial thing. For some of the ingredients, it's a big deal. Okay, here's Glod. So Glod comes right after Bouncer. I keep forgetting when Glod comes. So you'll see how he just kind of trolls around with you. Don't drink a prayer potion on Glod. You may be tempted since he does so much damage, but he just drains your prayer like nothing else. And look at him constantly smacking me. Usually he only smacks you a little bit, but sometimes he'll smack you big. But he just constantly hits. Like, he hits pretty much every time, no matter what he hits. I'm actually going to switch to accurate. And I would keep spam clicking him. Sorry about the spam click noise, because he'll taunt you to run away, go towards him, whatever. And this will just make sure that you keep attacking him and not run off somewhere. Now you'll notice that like Glod appears to have more strength and attack power than ever before. This probably is what caused him to do so much more damage, but if you try and run away from him, he'll just taunt you back to him. So I wouldn't dick around wasting time trying to run away from him when he has increased attack and strength. I mean, I've already lost 100 points of absorption damage, and he's just a little bit below halfway killed. So this guy doesn't fuck around. Glod is a beast. Yeah. Human. Giant cunt. What are you doing? And so, after watching more popular, so that's 200 points or 300 points of damage. He just constantly hits, and he's got very high defense. So after watching some more popular YouTubers of RuneScape, I learned that even they, I won't mention who they are, even they had some trouble understanding some of the poll questions and misvoted on them. And in particular, the Wand of Darkness special attack vote, where the question was asked, so the Wand of Darkness special attack will half the melee damage done to you. Do you also want it to half the melee attack you do? And most people, when they first read that, would think, what? Why would I want that? Of course I don't want it to half the melee damage I do. That doesn't make any sense, you know? There's no benefit in that. Why would I vote for that? Of course I'm going to vote no. Well, they probably should have polled that question in a different context, because it has a huge, drastic consequence for dueling and staking. And you know how many times Jagex has fucked up dueling and staking, and most of the time irreversibly. So here's Agarith Nana. This is the recipe for disaster equivalent of Agarith Nar. And this one doesn't even use melee attacks, it just uses mage. So I'm just gonna, it's weak to stab, so I'm just gonna use one DDS spec on it to get it poisoned. And leave it at that. And from now on, these bosses have high defense, so for most of them, I'm just going to use accurate attack. So, back to Wand of Darkness. Jagex and the old school development team should have rephrased that question in the duel arena context at the least, or asked it in a way that showed the consequences of having a weapon that has a special attack that just halves all the damage you do without halving the melee damage you do. Or even just like put in italics and bold a melee, you know. So that's the downside of making RuneScape a republic. This game would have been much better off if Jagex just didn't even ask the players and implemented that update. You know, oh right, I need to put on ice gloves, my bad. And just implemented the update. So let's talk about Flambeed real quick, actually. Of course, you need to wear ice gloves, but if you don't use prayer, if you don't protect from magic, he will just constantly use a magic attack. So this is not a boss to waste prayer on. Definitely. So I just drank the overload on Agrithnar, so it should be good. The Camille-like recipe for disaster boss is coming next. So if it's been a while since you overloaded, I definitely recommend overloading just before you kill Flambeed, so she doesn't lower your stats. And I might do that just in case. But I'm just gonna risk it. So I was back to that Wand of Darkness update. It would be better if Jagex, in the cases of that, so also try and get a special attack out on this boss if you can, because she drains your special attack, your run, everything. And there she goes again. This boss seems pretty weak to melee, so you don't have to put on the full Verax. You'll hit often enough with a whip. At least you should. You have higher attack than me. God dang, I might switch. Yeah, I might switch because I don't want my overload to run out. Okay, so I'm going to eat my own words and switch to Verax. And it does make a difference. Maybe not in my case. So as long as you stay overloaded, your stats would drain temporarily, and then the overload would just kick them back up to full. So normally, you would have to use Fire Wave on this boss, but you can't. You'd always have to spam click the cast if you didn't bring a staff. I'm actually going to drink another overload just to make sure it doesn't run out. You would have to spam click the cast, like Fire Wave over and over again. Go to your spellbook, click on Caramel. That's her name. Unless if you're using a staff, and that is very annoying, and you get very little casts off, I've found. So it's best to just use Verax in this case, I think. Because out of all the recipe for disaster bosses, this one has like the lowest defense to melee, excluding Flambeed. But she still has very high defense. As you can see, I've got Verax inaccurate, and I'm still not hitting quite often. Oh, there's another compliment. I wish I could reply, but I am in the middle of spam clicking, of course. Jesus, come on. Yeah, good thing I drank that overload. As you can see, this fight can last a long time. Fortunately, she does very little damage, so it's nothing to worry about. Big glass of water. Yep. I'm lazy, that's it. Here's Dezorte. Yeah, as you can see, I've got no run or anything. So this boss is actually weak to air attacks. So if you don't have full Verax, I recommend using Air Wave. But as you can see, Verax just rips through this boss. And I've used a whip before. He's got relatively low defense, but the Verax just hits so much more often. And I can actually use strength. But this is, once you start the recipe for disaster bosses, this is when you start drinking Anglod. This is when you start drinking a lot of potions. So, I guess back to that Wand of Darkness thing. Yeah, sadly, that's not going to pass, and if Jagex just doesn't do it anyway and ignored the misinformed players, or... well, I can talk to you. That's better than typing. Right? Okay, so here comes... Oh, I'm wrong. Geltic Mother. Duh. Okay, so... I'll run up to her. Actually, I got no run. Dang. And unfortunately, the Gelatinous Mother does not stay in the melee phase very long, so as soon as she switches to orange, get out that DDS and go. So orange is coming up. It comes up right after blue. I'm just hitting bogus. Okay, DDS. DDS, come on. Okay, good, I got it in. That's what she said. Or he said. It'd be weird if that was a she said joke. Anyways, so unfortunately, players were a little bit misinformed in my opinion on that. And this is actually a very serious update, this Wand of Darkness thing. It changes how dueling will work, and it actually changes the structure of PKing as well. So unfortunately, that may not pass. It looks like it. What else can we talk about in terms of God Wars and Recipe for Disaster updates? Oops. What else did they pull on? Cow Mask, that's a little childish. Who cares about that? I know there are some other things. I don't remember. Oh, magic percent damage. Okay, yes. Come on. Whew. This one's taking unusually long because I'm just hitting garbage on these guys. There we go. What? Oh no. God. Golly! Come on! Hit! Sit. That's right, bitch. Jesus. Okay. Colonomancer. Alright, overload up. Colonomancer just uses magic, so just put on the Carols, and you're good to go. He rarely ever hits when you wear full Carols. I can imagine this is a little bit more difficult if you have to wear a quest cape to complete this, because the fire cape just gives such good bonuses. But I imagine I'll still be able to do it, and I'll definitely be able to do it with Mage, at the very least. So other updates with Nightmare Zone, I forgot. I guess there's an Armadyl crossbow, and that looks like that's definitely going to pass, which is great. It'll be a great boss for Armadyl because of that bolt spec, where the increased accuracy from the bolt. That'll be pretty nice. Here's Chronozoan. One of every blast spell on Chronozoan. And you can see if it works beforehand if you look at the Chronozoan weakens part down in your chat box. Okay, so that one splashed, so I need to cast the air one again before I kill him. And make sure you get a successful cast for each one. Otherwise, he'll regenerate to full health. If you ever killed him in Rumble mode, you know how annoying that is. But other than that, he's got very low health, and he's a very squishy boss. So he's nothing really major. He just hits you pretty often. Alright. So that's all on that. So I guess back to Armadyl crossbow. It'll be great for... Can't some kids have some patience in this game? Jesus, Mary. 30 minutes, that's like such a small amount of time in the whole spectrum of your life. So Armadyl crossbow will of course be great for Armadyl because of that spec. You can get an automatic diamond bolt hit or ruby bolt hit, which may activate the spec instantly, because you have to hit for the spec, for a bolt spec to work. Or I plan on getting enough of Onyx bolts, like I said, to do Armadyl, because that will allow me to stay down there a lot longer. How cost effective it will be, I don't know, but I at least want to give it a try, because I can't think of a better place to use Onyx bolts than Armadyl or Kriya Ra. Okay, so that's done. Getting down to the wire here. The Desert Treasure bosses should be coming up soon. Okay, Giant Rock. If you want to save some health from this boss, you need a lot of run. Okay, there he is. He's going to throw a rock at me. I'm going to move out of the way. There's a rock. Okay, I missed it. Good. And there's another rock. I missed it. Get the BDS out. Run. Get the BDS. Okay, good run. Okay, I ran through the rock. Good. And the best way to just do it, like to avoid the rock she throws at you, is to just run through her instead of just running to the side. It's hard to catch when you run to the side. But if you run away from the rocks like that, you won't take any damage. But sometimes she'll use that push stun attack. All I gotta do is just run back to her, and after you attack, she switches between the two attacks, either throwing a rock at you or using that melee stun attack. But you want to make sure you run out of the way. But I'm doing really great this time. Last time I was taking a lot of damage from the rocks. But this time, it's looking pretty good. Okay, gonna move. But yeah, you need a lot of run for this boss. Okay, there's a stun. And you can just run straight back to her after she stuns you, because she'll just completely miss you with her rock. That's funny, the name is Giant Rock and she throws giant rocks at you. I don't know. Kind of funny. There's Desosis. So what I'm going to try with this boss is you want to tank the range attacks. He'll constantly hit you with range attacks. There he goes, and I'm out of run. Not good. But this is a boss that is weak to air attacks. I don't think he'll use melee if you don't protect range. Let's see. I think he's just going to use the range attacks. We'll watch him. Save some prayer points here. I may not have even needed a prayer potion if he doesn't use melee. But he hits like 50s and 60s with melee. So you don't want him meleeing you either way. So do not protect range on this boss, or he will fuck your shit. That's for sure. So you can use Air Wave, or you can just use Full Verax. I think Full Verax is a lot faster. You can get some combos in. But it looks like, yeah, he doesn't use melee when you don't protect range. But on the quest, you definitely want to protect range because it hits constant like 10s, his range attack. But a 10 is nothing in Nightmare Zone. That's like next to no damage because of these absorption pots. So that's why I suggest tanking the range attacks, because he hits so often and so hard with melee. But I do actually recommend bringing the prayer potion for the Jungle Demon boss, at the very least. I think Damus is next after this, and that's another boss that will fuck your shit. And that's, if you remember, that's another boss you don't want to drink a prayer potion on, because when he hits you, it's like he's got smite on. He constantly drains your prayer. Okay, so here's Damus. And Damus is weak to earth spells. So if you don't want to use Full Verax and Damus, and actually in the first form you can use a whip because he's got very low defense. But on the second form, even though he takes his armor off, he's like a fucking beast. You never hit on him. And that's when you need to either use Earth Wave or Full Verax. And once again, I think Full Verax is better. Just because it just hits harder and you don't splash. And it's almost as accurate as Earth Wave. So as I say, you can use a whip on the first form. He decides to pull out this defense out of his ass. There we go. I don't know, doesn't this... I think the black character looks good, especially in Verax. The pixels look good. White just looks kind of pasty, and I don't know. Black skin goes good with a lot of armor. So that's why I miss wood, if you were wondering. Okay, flail time. Oh, and you'll see my absorption points go down big time. I am invincible, yeah, faggot. Just die. He's not hitting me, which is very surprising. I'm waiting for that 50 damage hit. God, he's a beast. Dang, I guess I'm pretty good at this game and he doesn't want to hit me. There's a little bit. Oh shit! That was the 50. Oh god, here he comes. Slow! He just hit a fucking 60 on me there. Oh my god. Fuck that. Yeah, that's... Oh Jesus, this is where you start taking a lot of damage. There he goes again. Holy hell. Yeah, that was a 50 something or 40 something. And next is Ferried. Oh god. And you can actually wear full Verax and Ferried as well. That's what I do. Oh my god. He's making me drink like 2 absorption potions. Jesus. I'm gonna let him hurt me a little bit so I can eat some cake. Right? Come on. Come on. I'll let you see him. Oh, wait, no, I killed him. Okay, so here comes Fairy, which I'll actually, I'll DDS him. Try it out, see how it works. Because my special attack's gonna go down anyways on Camille. So full Verax works here, or on Fairy, of course, you use Water Wave. Drink some absorption potions. And Fairy, fortunately, he doesn't do a lot of damage. And you still have you have enough magic defense with full Verax on. Full Verax doesn't give any magic defense penalty. So you're good to go. But you can use, like, if you want to mage, you can just switch to your Aram Skirt and just use Water Wave. It'll just be pretty slow. But Verax does good work on Fairy too. Just gotta wear your ice gloves. So it's coming down to the wire here, as you can see. I've only got 2 absorption potions left. But fortunately, Camille doesn't do a lot of damage. So I think I drank my absorption pot at the end of... okay, here comes Camille. So once again, Camille will lower your stats and your run and everything. So if you got any special attack, use it. And I don't have any. Alright, so I'm going to switch to Verax and go to work. And you do have to spam click, because when he freezes you, like, you won't attack him again unless if you click on him. And he delays your attack speed. It's a real mess. You get some good combos in, though. If my overload runs out, it's GF, but I think I'll be good. I think we've got a couple minutes left on it. And I think Barrel Chest is next. And that's another boss you want to use full Verax on, because Barrel Chest is very weak to crush. If you did the quest, guide recommends to use a crush weapon if you're going to melee, and I'm so glad I did, because I brought Scimitar too, and I was just not hitting. Okay, here's this demon boss, and I think he's a little glitched because he doesn't even attack. He just sometimes he'll get out this one magic attack that hits you, just like in the quest. But he doesn't use melee like in a quest. He just sits there, and he's a real easy boss that gives a lot of points. Let's see how many points I get from him. Okay, so like 18k points, so not bad. Very easy boss, nothing to worry about. Okay, here's Barrel Chest, and you can use Strength here because he's very weak to crush. But he does do a lot of damage. He has the Sunder special attack, and there it is, and it like hits every time, and it fucks you up. Let's see if it lowered my defense. I think it did. Yeah, see? That Sunder attack, like, lowers your defense. Like, that's so weird. Let's see him do it again. Hopefully my overload won't run out when he does it. That Sunder attack, when he uses it on you, it, like, drops your defense level, like, every second. And it hits. Okay, I'm down to less than one absorption potion. So hopefully I'll be able to get through this. I felt like I've done a good job so far. I think I'll be okay. And he's dead. Awesome. Alright, so I'm going to top off the rest of this absorption potion. I'm going to drink an overload. I think Jungle Demon's next. Oh, Giant Scarab. This is another boss that has mega high defense, and I might try out Prayer on. Okay, so I'm going to drink a Prayer Potion and melee Pray and see if you get in melee distance, he won't use that range attack. So yeah, I'm definitely going to melee Pray here. But holy hell does this boss have a lot of defense. It may even be worth, trying out a Kaeris on this boss. But like I said, Kaeris is an absorption potion. Are you willing to bring a Kaeris over an absorption potion? Not me. But this boss probably has the highest. Wow, I'm actually hitting this time. So it's a good boss to pray on. If you notice, I just drank my first sip of prayer potion. It may be different for you, but generally this is where it starts coming down to the wire, absorption potion wise. And this is a good boss to pray on. He doesn't hit relatively often, but he hits hard, and he definitely hits hard and often with range. So if you're going to be in ranging distance of this boss, I definitely recommend praying range. He won't walk up to you if you pray range. And with full Virax, the prayer bonus is so high, you don't have to, that's why you can bring one prayer potion. It's a good thing. And we're coming down to the wire here. As you can see, I'm at 412k points, and within the next few bosses, that will go all the way up to 590k. So it just gives you an idea of just how much points these last few Dream Mentor bosses give. So you only got like 20k points from that boss. So Jungle Demon, this is definitely a boss you want to pray on. And this Jungle Demon, I've noticed, is actually very weak to crush. So if you're in Rumble mode, Jungle Demon, and fighting Jungle Demon with, let's say, Darox, definitely use Crush instead of the Hack option. You'll hit a lot more often. But this boss hits 60s, 80s, mega high. So it's definitely a good boss to pray on. And you could, if you didn't pray on this boss, you'd probably drink 3 or 4, maybe, I'd say 3 absorption potions, 2.5, because this guy just hits so hard. So no absorption potions left. I got some prayer points. Man, I'm going to have some chips and queso after this. Ooh. And Jungle Demons do give a lot. That was like 30k. Okay, the Untouchable. So we're on the last 3 bosses now. And this one doesn't hit you very often, but every time you hit it, it recoils damage. And this boss has very high defense too. And if you have RuneScape sounds on, it makes a very freaky sound. See, every time I hit it, it recoils. But I wouldn't pray on this boss. Let's see. I might just use prayer because I've only got 2 bosses left after this, and I've got plenty of prayer points. So I've only got 200 points left of absorption, so I do need to make those count. But this, 440, this boss will take a long time to kill. And you won't believe the level the last boss is at, the last Dream Mentor boss. It is insane. Not quite high as Jad, but hits very hard. Crazy boss. But it's very squishy in terms of melee attacks. And mage attacks too. I used Claws of Guthix the first time I killed it, and I hit pretty much every time. Last overload. As you can see, 3 overload potions for me is pretty much the perfect amount to bring. And speaking of Dagannoth Kings as well, the drops from Dagannoth Kings are barely worth anything. The Berserker Ring and the Archer's Ring have gone up a little bit, but the Dragon Axe is like 900k. Okay, here's the Everlasting boss. Definitely a good boss to use Verix on too. He's got mega high defense, and he hits very hard. I think he hits the hardest out of all the bosses. I think he hit like 120 on me or something, so I don't even want to do this boss without melee prayer on. Definitely not a good idea. And protect prayers actually don't work on the last boss, I found, so it's best to just use Piety and kill it as fast as possible. So I've got full spec bar for it. Yeah, you can use sharks there and everything, but at Dagannoth Kings. But I just don't go there anymore because I only trioed when I went to Dagannoth Kings. So I went with 3 people and killed all 3 kings. And like I said, the drops aren't worth much. Like Mudstaff is a little over a mil only. Dragon Axes are below a mil, and Dragon Axes will be the majority of your drops when trioing. So you really count on those Dragon Axes to make a profit. Okay, here we go. Final boss. Inadequacy, that's right. There it is. Only got 176 points. I need some good specs to be able to do this, because he's already hitting me big time. I'm going to try and melee pray, see if that works. It might work, I don't know. I just remember him hitting me through prayer. I did it! There we go, I did it again. 596k points. So, let's take away 96k of that. I mean, it's not really that much, pot-wise. So let's actually see pretty much, let's get a more accurate amount of my total profit. So 596k, 259 points from all the bosses. So let's calculate how many absorption and how many overloads I use per trip. So 3 overloads, which is 12 doses, so 1500 times 12 is 1500 times 10 is 15k plus 3k, which is 18k. So 18k points. So we can subtract 18k points. And so this will be the easy part. So I had all these, and then 3 absorption pot, which leaves me 16 potions plus 2, so 18. 18 times 1,000 is, or actually 18 times, let's do 18 times 4 is, let's do 10 times 4, which is, so 40k points plus 8 times 4 is 64. So 46k points for the absorption pots. So we'll say, I guess we'll round it up to 47k plus 18k, which is 57k plus 8, which is 64k. So in total per trip, I spend exactly 64k worth of points. So 596 minus 64 is 532. So let's do, okay, so Pure Essence, that's what you're going to buy. So 532k points divided by 70. So I'm going to do that with my calculator real quick. 532,000 divided by 70, which is exactly 7,600 Pure Essence. So if you can sell the Pure Essence for 80 each, let's say 7,600 times 80, that is exactly pure profit 608k. So per trip, I make exactly 608k per pure profit. Let's take away 8k from a prayer potion. So I spent 8k in a prayer potion. So exactly per trip, I make 600k points. Unfortunately, I didn't time this exactly, but you can look at the video from the moment I start, and I will too, and I will post it on the description on YouTube. You can look at from the moment I first enter to the moment I finish, and that will be the gold per hour. I'm thinking I finished around an hour and 10 minutes or so. I'm not sure, maybe an hour and 20 minutes. So we can say it's at least 500k an hour, but I will double check it and I will post it up on my channel. But yeah, 600k an hour is definitely more profitable than Dagannoth Kings, especially with how much you spend on supplies at Dagannoth Kings, excluding brews and superstores. You still spend a lot at Dagannoth Kings. And if you don't bring brews, you're not going to stay down there very long, and most likely you're not going to get dropped. So this is definitely, if you can do it right, I've tried to be as thorough as possible. If you can do this right and spend as little as possible like I did, that's 600k pure profit from each Nightmare Zone trip. So good luck, guys, with Nightmare Zone and all your God Wars dungeon preparation endeavors. And I think I'm going to end the stream there. Thanks for watching. As this will be on YouTube, if you could hit that like button, this will boost up the video in the search bar and help other people who are curious to do Nightmare Zone, help them actually make money out of it, because I've actually had lots of people tell me I haven't made a single single gold piece from Nightmare Zone, and that's unfortunate because it really has potential to make you a lot of gold. So that's 600k pure profit from all the quests done. So if you have all the quests done, one hard endurance mode will get you 600k gold pure profit, and that's if you sell 7,600 pure essence at 80 each. So you could sell them easily for more. I'm just trying to be as conservative as possible to keep it as accurate as possible for you. Thanks again for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time.